So in this practice problem, we're going to be reading and parsing XML data, but rather than getting the data from a local file, we're going to read it from over the internet from an XML feed. We're going to be reading weather data from the National Weather Service. So here's our basic application, just a couple buttons, and then a temperature and wind speed text box. So if I run this, I can click on these buttons. There's a slight delay while it goes out and grabs the information from the National Weather Service in XML format and displays it. Right now it's rather cold, it looks like, outside in Duluth, Minnesota. Now there are two buttons here and they're both going to do the same thing. Let me just erase these, and now if I hit the other button it'll fill in that same data. So one of these uses X descendants and one uses X elements to find the data in the XML file. So we'll look at both of those examples. But first let's look at where we're getting this XML data. So if I just Google weather XML, one of the top results is the XML data feeds from the National Weather Service. If I go there, I can select I'm in Minnesota. Let's try that again. I'm in Minnesota right now, and I'm up in Duluth, Minnesota. So there's an RSS feed, which is also in XML file here, a type of XML, but it doesn't have as much data as I want in it, so I'm not going to use the RSS feed for this. I'm going to use the actual XML feed here. Unfortunately, if I just open this in a new tab, it's going to format that in a nice way, again using something called XSL formatting, which we're not going to cover in this session. But I can just click and download that file also just to see what it looks like and open it up in a text file. So I'm just going to right click, save that link out there and open it up in a text file. So let's try that. So here's this XML data in a text file, and it has lots of weather information from my current location, Duluth, Minnesota. I see the top level tag up here is current observations, and under that are lots of tags. Two I'm going to be working with are the temperature string, and I want the value of that, and the wind string, and I'll want the value of that. So those are the two things, tags I'll want, and I'll notice those are within the current observation elements. So let's go look at the code. Oh, actually, we're going to start from scratch, aren't we, for this? So I'm going to open up a brand new project here and do this all from scratch. So I'm going to do a new project, empty web project, call it CIS 3049. Unit 6, practice problem. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay out my fields that I want. I'm going to create a new item, and I want a new web form, and I'm just going to use that to display weather. I'm going to switch to design mode. Again, I need my toolbox, which I've closed. Bring that up here. I often have to close my toolbox. I'm working in these little windows for recording. Okay, so again, I want two buttons and two text fields. Right here, the text fields I'm using are called txt wind and txt temp. So I want to do the same thing kind of over here. First I'm going to just enter some spaces in here, and then I'm going to say temperature and wind. So I have those available. Now I'm going to drag, I'll put the buttons at the top so they'll match what I have, but again you can put the buttons where you want. And I'll need two text boxes here. And really we should be doing some formatting, put this stuff in table and things like that. But again, we're not worrying about a lot of that HTML related design elements. We're learning C++ programming, so we're just doing a very straightforward layout here. And I noticed in my example need to make these a little wider to display all the data, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, so my first button, I'm going to leave these called button 1 and button 2 because they're going to do the same things. I'm just going to change the text. Display weather using option 1. Using option 2. Okay, and another return there. Okay, so now let's enter some code for these. Let's see, did I name these text boxes? No. So I want that to be txt temp for the temperature, and I want this to be txt wind for the wind string. Okay, now I'm going to go into this first button, and now I'm going to close out my toolbox again so you can see things a little better. I'm going to put some code in here. So the first thing we need to do is read data from the XML feed. This. see, where am I here? Okay, and now once I have each element here, and again, it should only be doing one element. So just like before, I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to set the text box txt_temp.text equal to, and now I'm working with this element. So element.value. I guess I could have named this the same. I just called it element.value. So this will grab the temperature, and then it'll go through and loop through all the temperature strings and set txt_temp.text equal to them and actually overwrite it each time. But again, it should only be finding one, but I still am using this for each loop to find these. So similarly, we can do something for the wind. We can use descendants and grab our wind string here, and then we can go for each element there, and we can set the text element. So one of the problems with descendants, it's actually really useful in some cases. It returns a whole list of matching X elements for this. In our case, we only need one, but here we still, the easiest way to process a list is actually to do a for each. It's difficult with a list. It's not like an array where I can grab a specific element, like the first element in the list necessarily. So I'm going to do this for each element to just grab these elements in the list. Okay, did a little reconsider, decided to show you another way of doing this second part without using the for each. So again, the for each is really useful when we're looping through a set of elements. But if we do just want the first element, we can just grab the first element from the list. So if I use descendants to create a set of elements, a collection of elements called wind elements, I can say wind elements.first to grab the first element on the list and just save that in a variable. Now I can go through and say elements.value to get that value and save that in the text box. In fact, I can combine all these three statements into a single line if I wanted. It's just, so I should be able to copy this. Oops. Oops, I'm running. Okay, and post it in here, dot. Let's undo that. Okay, so I'm going to do get my documents and just do my dot first here, and then I'm going to do dot value, and then I'm going to set my text to that. So this grabs all the descendants, grabs just the first element and grabs the value of that and sets that equal to text. So that replaces this for each loop. Again, often we will be using for each loops. That's why I wanted to show you that initially, because again, usually with descendants we want to do something with each element that we're returning, but it is possible just to use the first element. So let's just run this. So again, we've got two buttons. They should both do the same thing. Now we can try out our second button. And our second button, again, it shows it does get the temperature and the wind. And again, we're doing that in two different techniques there. This is the single line version and this is the loop version. And again, our initial version should still work also. So that wraps up this practice problem. I'll post a finished solution, this code out there, and then we'll use this as the basis for the assignment. I'm going to just have you just do one button and do a little more advanced stuff to grab this weather data.